friends, thanks so much for tuning in with Embodied Astrology. My name is Renee. I'm a consulting astrologer and embodiment educator. And every month I offer astrologically guided readings that help connect you with your mind-body intelligence and energetic intuition. In this very special Aquarius season episode, we're going to tune in with 2025 and get some channeled messages specific to each of the 12 zodiac signs. So make sure to listen to the recording for your sun, rising, and moon signs. And if these readings speak to you, make sure to check out the extended readings for each sign in 2025. They include an additional 2+ hours of in-depth exploration for navigating this year's most important transits, retrogrades, and eclipses. Additionally, if you are an Aquarius sun, moon, or rising, or if you know how to work through the themes of each house in your chart and you know where Aquarius is for you, make sure to listen in on the Aquarius reading for an extra special edition with some important themes for Aquarius season. In 2025, that's January 19th through February 18th. If my readings resonate for you, let me know by clicking the thumbs up and tell me what lands in the comment section. Make sure to subscribe and stay updated with my monthly readings and astro-inspired movement and meditation practices. The best way to show your support and stay connected is to sign up for the Embodied Astrology newsletter, drop into a weekly or monthly Embodied Astrology class, or sign up for a monthly membership. You can find more information on everything in the show notes or at embodiedastrology.com. All right, let's get into your channeled readings for 2025. I'm smiling right now because I feel this sense of pride for you. I don't know who you are, but I feel a sense of pride for Cancerian energy. And the feeling is like you made it through something. You made it through something. And you are in a moment of your life that when you look back on this time from the future, I think a lot of you will have the feeling of, oh, wow, I made it through something and that's when I really found my power or something like that. 2025 is a year that is asking you to find your power and to come into that power. And when I say power, I mean your presence. I mean the confidence and the boldness and the courage of your presence. And in your presence, this is also what you have to share. The ways that you use your voice, the ways that you direct your attention and your energy. But fundamentally, this is about you owning it. You have been through something. Even if you're real young, even if you're just kind of getting off on your journey, and especially if you've been around for a while, you've been through something and you have gained a lot of knowledge and experience. And a lot of this knowledge and experience that you have gained is really hard won. And it is coming from a period in your life for, let's say, the last 16 to 17 years, a period in your life in which you were really challenged frequently. And I think a lot of the challenges felt deeply relational and circumstantial as well, but in the ways that you held space and occupied space and showed up, right? With this feeling of, okay, you can be here owning it. Not always. There were people in the way, or there were parts of you in the way that you have done some kind of clearing out. And there has been some kind of reckoning process that has taught you about conflict and what it means to have your own back and not abandon yourself or who you are. And you have also learned a lot about the bonds that will be sustainable and steady for you and what you need for ongoing relationship. You have also learned a lot about your personal truth, your philosophies, your guiding essence. I think that many of you in 2025 have a sense of a clarifying of your own wisdom and maturity. And the world is ready for this from you in some way, We want to know what you have to say. We want to understand your perspective. Your perspective has information for the rest of us. And in this way, you need to take up some space in leadership, whatever that might mean to you in your circumstances. That might mean leadership of your own life. That might mean making decisions that are really anchored and grounded in a sense of personal passion and desire and motivation, where you definitely can consider others and their needs and where you might want to meet them in those needs, but you will not be compromising. You can collaborate, but you will not be compromising. And when I say that, the feeling that I have is you're not abandoning yourself. You're not cutting off some part of yourself anymore. You're not putting your needs away where they won't be seen or they won't bother anybody. You're not making yourself small. You are really needing to lead your own life right now. And this then gives you an attitude and a vibe. And also, you have gained something, you have grown something, you have earned something that potentially puts you in a position of leadership with others. This could look like teaching. This could look like project management or leading some kind of initiative or collaboration. This could look like really taking a new route or new road with your vocation or your career. And this could also look like emboldening you in your relationships, your family, your friend groups, but you being just a person that other people actually really look up to and want to follow in some ways as a possibility model and role model. So this year then brings some unique challenges with it. And some of the challenges that are coming in are very psychological and energetic. And there are remnants of the past that had to do with some of these themes that I was talking about, particularly in the ways that you have been getting to know who you are so that you can take leadership, which often involves some kind of struggle and relational struggle and moving through internal obstacles and blockages as well as external challenges and blockages. But as some of the circumstances that you were working with now start to transform, new circumstances are emerging. And the new area of what feels like ripe for transformation in your chart really has a lot to do with energy and psychology. And I think that for many of you now, you can be your own best ally, but you can also be your own worst enemy. And it really has a lot to do with how you are able to work with your mind and your psyche. And that also means your subconscious and your unconscious, which also means the deeper threads of entanglement and influence that your relationships have, whether these are relationships with people who are here and present or who are no longer here and no longer present, as well as relationships with those very deeply in the past and occupying ancestral space. And the ways that the energy and the psychology of relationships is affecting you has a lot of growth potential in it when you are able to up-level your skill capacity and really learn to work a lot more subtly, which for Cancer is actually saying something because y'all are a subtle crew often. Many of you are very sensitive, empathic, and intuitive. Cancerian intelligence notices a lot that's around. Part of your intelligence is a kind of spidey sense and an awareness, or could even sometimes be a vigilance that can track a lot of information. And there's always a lot of information to pick up. And there are always going to be a lot of needs. And how you track information and which needs you are cluing into and then mobilizing around are part of your new set of challenges. And this new set of challenges really requires a lot of discernment on your part. And for many of you, it is going to be a little bit heartbreaking because there's no way that just one of you can meet everybody's needs. And there is a lot of need right now. There always is, there always has been, there always will be. And this is a time when a lot of you are really attuned to how much need there is. And part of this is because of where you have come. And particularly for those of you who feel yourself in some position of leadership, for Cancer, that really carries a lot of responsibility in it. Because you know that leaders need to be excellent caregivers. And if anybody holds a position of power, it's because ideally they have earned that power through trust. And they can care for the vulnerabilities that others would have if they trust another person with power. And you want to be able to use your power skillfully and well. And there's this feeling in your chart that I mentioned a moment ago, but I'll say it differently now. There's this feeling of needing to reprogram your care operations in some ways. And as you reprogram, again, you have to discern where to actually put your attention and your energy. And that means outside of you and your body and your immediate needs and internal experiences, but that also means internally in terms of what's coming up in your mind and in your attention and what you're allowing to kind of take root in your consciousness. And as you become more refined and skillful, you gain power and your leadership gains strength. But as you gain strength and power and potentially become increasingly more of a leader, you may also gain adversaries. And you'll certainly become somebody who others can project upon because that's what we do with people who have power and are in positions of leadership. And that means that your spidey sense and your vigilance then will have to become even more discerning. So this is a year that is asking you to practice discernment and practice caring for yourself when the messages that come through in your internal discernment say, sorry, I can't attend to that. That is beyond my scope. I have my limitations. And so then when you have grief around that, or when you question your own morals or intentionality, you have to be able to hold your feelings about it and work with your motivations and understand really where you're coming from, what you need, if your discernment is in fact accurate, and how you want to move forward on it. And over the course of this year, there are some really big questions about how you're using your resources. And your resources include, of course, your money and material resources, but also your time and your energy and your attention and definitely your labor. Your resources also include your presence and what you give your weight to, where you decide to show up. Because you showing up right now means something, because you are gaining more power. And there is this quality of leadership. So when you decide to move in a particular direction, again, you might just be leading the course of your own life. But when you decide to take a step somewhere, that means that's where your mind is going. Now you've got emotions invested. Maybe you are putting material resource into this. You are going to work for it. If you show up for anything that other people are doing or any ways that you might be collaborating together, that means that you are bringing presence. you are lending your support and your affirmation and the resources of your time and attention and possibly material resources as well. And that means something. And you really need to value that. And I think that as we move into 2025, a lot of you are in a kind of internal assessment place with yourself, where you are feeling your own sense of value in a really different way. And this sense of value is about this. It's about your presence. It's about your attention. It's about what you put into things. And you need to know that that value is seen and felt and will be reciprocated when it comes to any collaborations, any partnerships, any relationships where there is not a dependency. So, sometimes maybe with your kids, if you're a parent, you can expect that you will feel undervalued, and maybe the exchange won't be totally reciprocal. You might just be doing a lot and they will be taking what you give. And fingers crossed, we hope that at some point there is going to be another kind of exchange happening. And in many ways, I'm sure there already is, and they give a lot just by being themselves. But when it comes to any kind of horizontal, equal relationships, when it comes to partners, when it comes to colleagues, when it comes to friendships, and definitely when it comes to anyone that you are intentionally trying to build something with that's going somewhere, whatever that might be, wherever you might be trying to go, you need to feel that the exchange is worth your while. As a tarot reader I enjoy sometimes says, is the juice worth the squeeze? Is the thing you're getting out of it worth the effort that you're putting into it? And that's going to be a point of examination for you, not just in 2025, not just in 2026, but actually for the foreseeable future. And in the future that we are moving towards, there's a lot of desire and interest and orientation that you have towards what can happen when we work together. And I would say that some of you are even low-key obsessed. And this is no surprise because you're a Cancer, and Cancerian intelligence is all about the family. And that doesn't have to mean we're blood relationships or related by marriage or something like that. Family can be chosen, family can be created, family can be existential in some ways, but there is a Cancerian instinct to bond and to include and to build communal support, because you also understand that when we have that kind of support, we have more for everybody. And Cancerian intelligence understands that for us to do anything, we need to be fed. We need to be well rested. We need to have our needs met. And so when there are more people available to collaborate and to help and to work together, then more needs can be met. We can grow bigger, we can grow better, we can do more things. And this is where I think a lot of you are wanting to go, in whatever way that makes sense for you in your own life and circumstances. But in order to grow together, we have to figure out how to be together. And being together is not so easy. Community as a buzzword is floating around in all kinds of ways that make it sound really idyllic and perfect and wonderful. And it's like, oh, community this and community that. But the reality of community is that it's super challenging and messy and complicated a lot of the time. And especially where we are in 2025, or where many of us are, kind of reeling in the various traumas of the world, many of which involve some kind of dislocation or separation. And many of us feeling a question about how do we belong and where do we belong, or coming from lineages that have literally been separated, separated from people, separated from land, often separated in very violent and devastating ways. And so we find ourselves trying to relate when we don't speak the same languages in our cultural bodies. We find ourselves trying to make sense of things when things don't really make sense at all on a personal level. And so then how do we work together? How do we navigate the ups and the downs of human weather systems, and how we might feel one day given, this kind of influence, and then the next day given that kind of influence, and what happens when people fall in love and then out of love and have disagreements and misunderstandings. So there's a lot of drama in the human experience, and cancers are not above drama. And you can get real pulled into it, and you can get totally involved in the needs and the feelings of it, whether they happen to be yours or something that you're involved with, or whether it's about other people having their other people kinds of experiences. If it affects you, you notice it. And I think a lot of you are really interested in this right now, and you have the mettle for it. You have the grit, and you're like, I know it's messy, Renee. I know it's challenging. I'm here for it. This is what I was made for. I'm a Cancer. So there's this kind of feeling that I have with your chart that is this leadership potential, but you leading in these Cancerian ways, where sometimes you're leading by moving to the side and showing all of us how to move to the side. And sometimes you're leading by showing us how to put up a wall or shell ourselves off. And sometimes you're leading by showing us how to be soft. But ultimately, you are leading because you have an interest and an investment in relationship and connection. And you have a subtle awareness of what's happening in the interconnections and interrelated spaces. And that subtle awareness, which we can call empathy or intuition or compassion or skillful noticing, or on certain days we might call it helicoptering or being neurotic or hypervigilant, and it can be in the spectrum of things. But that capacity that you have to notice the in-between and the underneath and the subtle realms of relationship, that capacity is wanting your attention. And it is wanting to grow and become more sophisticated and nuanced and powerful. And you are now working with the psychology of relationship in really different ways. You are working with the technologies of psychologies. How do people come together? What keeps us apart? What is happening in these spaces where we gather and collect and commune? And you have to be very careful about how you enter into these areas, because your energy, your time, your attention, and your resources will get completely taken over by them. And there are certain circumstances where you want to give it all, and other circumstances where you only want to give a little bit if you want to give anything at all. And moving into 2025, I think that some of you are not totally clear yet about where you want to give and how you want to give and what it is that you're really going to stand up for and where you kind of want to move to the side. But by halfway through this year, you're getting it more and more clearly. And as we get into 2026 and out of 2025, you've got it. And that then opens up a really dynamic new journey and chapter for you that is about building on those skills for the big future beyond that. And depending on how old you are and where you're going with your life, again, that could mean a lot of things. So take what works, leave the rest. That's what I have in terms of impressions. First glance. So I'm going to allow that to guide me into some somatic awareness. And as I offer this somatic awareness to you, again, take what works, leave the rest. You can modify it. And that's my hope, is that you'll be intentionally adaptive with this practice. And even as I offer it to you, you can move it around, you can breathe with it, you can change the things that I'm saying. And over the course of this year, continue to play with it. If you have meditation practices or movement practices, this is a great thing just to add into them and again, customize it for you. And you can also work with this awareness practice anywhere in your life, anytime you're doing anything. And the more that you do it, the more that you train in it, the more you'll build these energetic circuits and kind of awareness patterns in your body. And that will allow you to become increasingly more receptive to what these astrological patterns can offer you in terms of best benefits and skill and discernment for working with the challenges. Okay, that's what I have for you today. If you enjoyed this reading, it is an excerpt from your 2025 extended year ahead, which includes an additional 2+ hours of in-depth exploration for navigating this year's most important transits, retrogrades, and eclipses. You can purchase that reading and access it today through the link in the show notes below. For anyone who's interested in joining some of Embodied Astrology's live virtual events, we have some upcoming in Aquarius season that you definitely don't want to miss. On January 29th, which is the Aquarius new moon, join Ramon Parrish and me for a members-only event where we'll be looking at Pluto's recent entry into Aquarius and what this means for the next 20 years. On February 9th, the author, artist, and intuitive Janata Petrus is holding her monthly full moon artistic alchemy class. Take this opportunity to tune in with the influences and creative guidance of the Leo full moon. Finally, on February 15th, Sherry Taylor and Ari Felix will be leading a workshop on Saturn and Pisces and astrology for world building. You can also find me every Monday in Somatic Space, where we work with the astrology of the week ahead as guidance for gentle and healing movement and meditation practices. All of our events are available by recording if you can't attend live. We offer tiered pricing and scholarships to everything, including memberships, and no one is ever turned away for lack of funds. Find more information in the show notes or at embodiedastrology.com.